Battleground seats in Western Sydney are going to be key to deciding the fate of the Albanese government, where the cost of living and housing are among the top concerns for voters this election. Now, I want to take a look at the seat of Parramatta, which is currently held by Labor MP Andrew Charlton. The Liberals are hoping to take it back with candidate Katie Mullins, a local lawyer who lives and works in Parramatta. I caught up with Katie Mullins and Shadow Treasurer Angus Taylor a little bit earlier. Katie, a big day for you. You are running for Parramatta against the high-profile candidate Andrew Charlton. You are officially kicking off your campaign this evening. But before I ask about your campaign, I want to ask you, Katie, Labor has just dropped a new energy policy about buying batteries, about buying solar panels. But every time I go to Parramatta, I see more and more high-rises. Where are the people in Parramatta who live in these high-density houses supposed to put these new solar panels and batteries that Labor wants them to buy?
That's a really great point, absolutely. And what I'm hearing when I'm out speaking to people in Parramatta is that they're struggling with the increasing cost of electricity. People were promised by Labor that they'd have electricity bills that are $275 cheaper. We were promised that 97 times. But out here in Western Sydney, in fact, the electricity bills have gotten higher, on average of about $1,000. People are really doing it tough, and that's why I'm working hard in Parramatta to make a change and to make people's lives better.
And Katie, I know that you spend a lot of time out there on the street in Parramatta. You visit a small business, I think, probably every single day. What is it that the small businesses are telling you? Because I think Western Sydney really is the heart of aspirational Australia now.
It absolutely is. The small businesses are the backbone of our community. We know that. Under Labor, we've seen around 29,000 small businesses close. And when I'm out talking to people, I'm also hearing they're struggling with the increased cost of energy. Someone I visited recently, they've got a lot of refrigeration needs, and their electricity bills have gone up $40,000 a month. And what that means is the cost has to get passed on to the consumer, and people just can't cope with this. So we have a lot of great policies for our small businesses, and of course one of the really exciting ones is we're making the instant asset write-off up to $30,000, and that I'm hearing is going to make a big difference for people out here in Parramatta.
But what are you hoping to do, Katie, if you win this seat in terms of representation? You are a local, you're a lawyer, you went to Western Sydney University, so you're part of the fabric there. Do you think you would be able to represent that seat, that community, better than the incumbent Andrew Charlton, who we all know comes from the eastern suburbs? He's got a very different background, I think, to most of the people that he's representing at the moment.
For me, Parramatta is not just a seat, it's my home. I moved to Parramatta over 2 decades ago to study law at Western Sydney University, and I've been practicing as a lawyer for the last 16 and a half years here. This place is really important to me. I'm passionate about Parramatta, and I understand the local issues because I am a local. The issues that people are facing are the same issues that I'm facing, and I'm determined to work hard so that the community and our city can reach its full potential.
And Shadow Treasurer Angus Taylor, we're so glad to have you here with Katie tonight. This new policy that Labor has just dropped about making it easier, to buy batteries and solar panels on the taxpayer dime, which means we're all helping to subsidize this. This seems to be a very clear admission that power prices for everybody else who doesn't have the ability to get those solar panels or batteries, they're not going down anytime soon, are they?
No, and this is the point, James. You're absolutely right. They've completely failed to meet their commitment, the $275 reduction. In my electorate, indeed, we're seeing a miss of about $1,300. And that's true, can I say, in the minister's electorate, $1,300 miss in terms of the bills that people are paying. And if their answer is that people have got to go out and buy a $9,000 battery unit, at a time like this when people are really suffering from the biggest hit to their standard of living in history, more than any other developed country in the world, they're just not going to find that kind of money. This is completely unrealistic, and it tells you something about how out of touch this Prime Minister is, how out of touch this government is with the reality of what Australians are facing.
Angus Taylor, one of the things that struck me about the policy is it seems to highlight the difference between the old Labour of old and new Labour, which is very much dominated by inner-city professional classes. This seems to be a policy very much targeted at those. Do you think that they're concerned, those seats, do you think they're concerned about the Greens eating into some of their margins in some of these inner-city seats?
Well, I think that's exactly right, James. And what we're seeing is a Labor Party that is out of touch with suburban Australia, with regional Australia, with seats like Katie's and mine, where people are really struggling to pay the bills, to pay the mortgage. You know, the average family on a mortgage has had to find $50,000. $50,000 they didn't expect to find before Labor came to power. And that's not money, that's after-tax money. And finding that is just been incredibly difficult. So what are people doing? They're working extra hours, they're taking on second jobs, they're giving up on essentials, they're having to make huge sacrifices, and still it's a real battle. I think this is a government that simply doesn't understand that, and the result is they are delivering a dreadful outcome for hardworking Australians.
Angus Taylor, while I've got you, you're the shadow treasurer now, presumably be the treasurer in a Dutton coalition government. You would have to deal with the Trump White House, and the tariffs are on everybody's mind. I'd love to know what your thoughts are on how you would approach this idea of negotiating with the United States. And, even if you're not in power now, would you be advising the government to be trying to get in there first and get that first mover advantage as nations try and jockey with the White House in terms of making a deal with the Trump White House about where we go next with these tariffs?
Yeah, no, absolutely, James. And the point here is we don't want to see taxes imposed, tariffs imposed on Australian exports. We are a great exporting nation. We always have been. And we want to get access to markets. And, of course, the irony of the tax on, say, beef is that the American consumer will pay more for their hamburgers. So we think there is a case to be made. What you need to do is to be strong and have a steady hand if you're going to take on the Trump administration. We know that because we've done it before. And Peter Dutton is that strong and steady hand. He said he will get stuck into this straight away on getting into government. On the other hand, we see a weak Albanese government that, frankly, is not going to be able to, I think, make any inroads in what needs to be done quickly. And you're absolutely right. The faster we can move on this, the better.
And finally, Angus Taylor, before I let you both go, we've seen a bunch of policies drop from the coalition, the fuel excise tax, the gas reserve policy, housing today. Are we going to see some more cost of living policies before the election? We've got a few weeks left.
Sure, of course. And those policies you've just talked about are really important ones. 25 cents per litre every time you go to the Bowser. And I can tell you, in places like this where people travel long distances, to go to work, to drop off kids at sport and so on, the relief on paying $20 less when you fill up is very, very significant. And it is meaningful. It will be immediate too, and this is incredibly important. We don't want to be waiting for 15 months and to be paying, to be getting 70 cents a day. I mean, honestly, that's a cruel joke for the Australian people. What we want and we will do is something immediate, meaningful, and will really matter in places like where we are today with our great candidate, Katie Mullins.
And Katie, what are you looking forward to most, before I let you both go here, what are you looking forward to most about this campaign, and how do you rate your chances of coming in with a win?
I'm working really hard in Parramatta. When I'm talking to people, I know that this election is critical. People can't afford to continue for 3 more years under Labor. And so I believe this is an election that we must win.
Thank you so much, guys. Shadow Treasurer Angus Taylor, Liberal candidate Katie Mullins, thank you much for your time joining us on Campaign Confidential.